Mr. Chair, and thanks to the Minister for being here. It wasn't in the fall economic statement, nor did I see it in the supplementary estimates, but we do know that foot and mouth disease is a very real threat and potentially catastrophic to the Canadian beef industry. The Americans have already told us that they won't be sharing their stockpiles of foot and mouth disease vaccines. Will there be resources for a domestic foot and mouth disease vaccine bank in Canada in the upcoming budget?
Thank you. This is an important question. I have more and more conversation on this issue. Actually, when I was in Paris, I took the opportunity to speak with the head of the International Organization for Animal Health to seek her advice. So for now, we are still, collaborating for the joint vaccine bank, but I understand that it would be. So we are looking at different options right now. This is something that we are actively working on.
Okay, thank you. We also know that Health Canada issued the clarified guidance in May on the transparency of gene-edited products that will enable critical innovation. However, CFIA has still not signed off on that guidance. I understand the breeding innovation guidance that we are desperately waiting for is complete and sitting on your desk, waiting for your signature. Will you be signing that framework before the end of this calendar year, yes or no?
As you know, our government supports science and innovation, and I strongly believe that this gene editing development innovation is important for the industry. In the same time, I just want to be sure that we do it in the correct way and we make sure that we protect the integrity of the organic sector. We will find the path forward to make it available to our producers in a timely manner.
Okay, so I'm saying that not a definitive answer there when we know that Argentina, Australia, Brazil, the United States have all passed this guidance. Dr. Martin Duplessis from Health Canada has publicly debunked most of the, if not all of the unfounded claims which you are listening to. So I would encourage you to move along and get this signed. When asked in question period on November 23rd about the impact the carbon tax would have on farmers, the Prime Minister said that more than 80% of Canadians, including farmers, get more than they pay back, get more back than they pay in the carbon tax. Is that an accurate statement?
When we are looking at families, the private, the reality, quand on parle, je vais y aller en français pour ça.
I'll speak French for this. When we look at the returns, the reimbursements that are given to families, so 9 families out of 10 receive a higher amount than what they paid on the price of pollution. When you look at businesses, and farms are businesses, the question is different, obviously.
Family would be getting more money back from a carbon tax rebate than what they're paying, which is what the Prime Minister said in question period. I want to make sure that's what you're saying.
Je sais qu'il y a des...
I know that most farms are incorporated as businesses. Most farms are incorporated as businesses.
C'est possible de parler français. Monsieur Barlow, est-ce que tu m'entends bien?
Mr. Barlow, can you hear me when I'm speaking French? All right. Madam Minister, if you wish, please continue. So I was saying it's important to make a difference between the family and the business. When we're talking about families, there are 9 families out of 10 that receive more. When we talk about the business, and it's sure that in terms of family farms that are not incorporated, I don't have specific information, but I want to make a distinction between families and businesses.
As well on C234, finance officials stated that the average rebate for farmers through the C8 farm rebate carbon tax was about $860. Is that statement accurate?
I'm not able to specify the number.
CFIB's research shows that the average farm pays $45,000 in carbon tax. The Grain Farmers of Ontario have stated that they only receive about 15% of what they pay in a carbon tax back through C8. And now we see the fruit price guide states that by 2030, the carbon tax will cost farmers more than $150,000 per year. How do you defend the carbon tax and the impacts it's having on Canadian farm families?
I know that the greatest threat for the agricultural sector is and for food safety in the world is the climate crisis. It's the droughts, such as we experienced in the prairies last summer, the floods in BC, the hurricane in the Atlantic. That is the greatest threat. And I see that in the field because I travel throughout the country. I'm constantly speaking with agricultural producers, and I see how they're involved in the fight against climate change. The grain, beef, and milk producers all have commitments.
I would prefer higher taxes to tax me out of business. That is not certainly what I would be hearing at all. But I think I have time for one more question. Minister, you were at the OECD meetings in Paris. I was there with you. You co-chaired that meeting, and you also had a ministerial statement that came from that. And in the statement, it says to increase climate change mitigation efforts, we want to reduce emissions from agriculture and food systems, including things like fertilizer. Can you confirm anywhere in that statement that it says that fertilizer emissions reductions will be voluntary?
C'est un statement qui est conjoint.
It's a joint statement, but for Canada, I will say it and I will repeat it. We are really in a mindset where we want to proceed through incentives. We've invented $1.5 billion in incentives to help producers. Yes, absolutely. In Canada, our intention is that it be voluntary. Thank you, Madam Minister.